Hello everybody, this is Professor Ramirez and I would like to go over our reading of Robinson Crusoe. In chapter 1 we get a glimpse of Robinson Crusoe's youth and his family life. We know that he is one of a few brothers and that his father really wants Crusoe to get established as a merchant or in some sort of trade, and the father is of course willing to support Crusoe in this venture. Crusoe, being a typical rebellious youth, decides instead that he wants to live the life of a sailor, and he basically runs away as a young man. In chapter 2, while he's at sea, he is taken captive by a Turkish corsair, and for the next significant chunk of time, he's living in servitude with this corsair, and he's working with a young man named Xury. Crusoe devises a plan to commandeer one of the vessels that they have. It's a small longboat, and he's going to make his escape, and he takes Xury with him. In chapter 3, by this point, Crusoe has made his way to Brazil, and I think he actually sells Xury into servitude, but with the opportunity to apprentice himself out or to be an indentured servant, serve his time, and then be free. So Crusoe is set up as a plantation owner in Brazil. He's doing very well. He's prospering, and he is tempted by the prospect of bringing more laborers over to Brazil to work the land. It's when he's engaging in this venture that his vessel, along with all his crew members, they're foundering, and the vessel is taking on water. Everybody jumps into the lifeboat, and it's only Crusoe who survives when that vessel runs aground, and he manages to swim to shore. So he finds himself wrecked on a desert island. I'm not sure it's really a desert, though. As we get a glimpse of the island, it seems like it has a number of different ecologies. His first weeks on the island are all about figuring out, is he alone? What kind of hazards are there? What does the island look like? How big is it? And by chapter 5, he's really starting to get comfortable. He's starting to figure out how to survive in this new environment. He builds a house, and he begins his journal. In chapter 6, he is just taking inventory of the kind of wicked life that he has led, and this is the beginning of his journey of repentance with his relationship with God, and he's starting to recognize, and this will be a recognition that develops throughout the text, that actually he has a lot of resources made available to him, and that he is much better off than, for example, his fellow sailors. In chapter 7, this is where we see Crusoe take on one of his many roles. He's starting to grow barley and rice, and he's just learning, he's going to learn in this chapter and in other chapters as well, what the land will support, what the seasons are, where to grow these grains, and then he's also thinking for the long term of how to make bread. Chapter 8 is really important because this is where Crusoe begins to again take a closer inventory of the island. He wants to see the whole island. He wants to see what kinds of features it has. He is reluctant to move his habitation, as he calls it, but he's starting to set up a country home, and it's in that country home where he's growing grapes, and he has citrus trees, and it's a really beautiful part of the island. It's something that also diversifies his diet with the fruit. In chapter 9, this is a really instructive chapter. He takes great pains to start building a boat, but he's made the boat so big and so unwieldy that he can't get the boat to the water, and he can't get the water to the boat. So this is just such a wonderful lesson about how we need to really think ahead before we embark on these really complicated plans. We want to take inventory again of all the different obstacles and all the hazards, and think things through. So Robinson Crusoe isn't just an adventure novel, it's also a novel that imparted lessons to its readers. It was wildly popular. And of course, we even know today that this theme of survival resonates with film, with video games. It's a very popular motif. Chapter 10, Tames Goats, is all about how he's aware that his ability to hunt the goats is diminishing, and so he wants to tame those goats so that he'll always have a supply not only of meat, but he'll also have milk and cheese. So again, it just shows his industriousness. And by this point, of course, in the narrative, he's learned how to create pots. He's learned how to weave baskets. He's learned how to create planks to make furniture. He's learned the skills of a carpenter. He has, of course, learned how to be a farmer and when to grow crops. He also knows when to conserve those seeds. He's learned how to scare the birds away so that the birds don't eat his crops. So he's just a model of industriousness. Chapter 11, Finds Print of Man's Foot on the Sand. This is such an iconic chapter. This is where there's this great recognition after so many years that Crusoe is not alone. And what a realization that is. It's really earth-shattering for him to realize. And he's at first in this kind of feeling of disbelief about that footprint in the sand, about who could have left it, if it was some kind of supernatural or power, or whether it was human. And of course, we know that it's a human footprint. Chapter 12 and 13. This is all about more signs of Crusoe's connection with humanity. And there's the wreck of a Spanish ship. He has at this point been on the island for 23 years. And he's seen many of his domestic animals, his pets, come and go. He had his parrot, he had his dog, he had cats. He even had some goats that he tamed and he liked. And he's just been on this island for so many years, and he's got his 2 houses, his habitation in the cave where he stores his goods, and then he's got his country house. But this is the moment again where he's getting reintegrated into the world with that wreck of a Spanish ship.